Hey, and welcome to the Ranger Joe's God and Country Show Medical Hour here. And I'm going to adjust that camera a little bit. There we go. And hey, everybody out there in Facebook land and in YouTube land. Dr. Joe here with you with Dr. Curtis Clark. Medical Hour here Wednesday, the 9th of August, 2017. Hope you're having a great day on this rainy day in Columbus, Georgia. It's definitely one of those ones you need to be watching out about your health. So that's why we've got the health guy. That's what I call him, the health guy. And before we get going, how are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. Good afternoon, everybody.
All right, great. Hey, any dramatic things happening in Columbus right now?
Goodness, I would say not. It's business as usual. I think in healthcare, just the routine things. Some of it's good, most of it's not too good, but
most of it's not too good. Well, it just it's obviously I can tell you. Let's talk for just a second about some kind of, because I know one too. Some trending headline things right now. I know you were telling me about a couple that I wasn't aware of. Did you hear about Blue Cross Blue Shield?
Yes. Well,
yes.
Only what I read in today's paper.
Today's paper said that Blue Cross Blue Shield, out of the 159 counties, was pulling out next year of almost most of the counties. Now, I don't know if it was Muskogee, but I know Chattahoochee, Harris, Talbot, on the exchange, that they said that it's definitely pulling out. And I believe Muskogee too.
Yeah.
Definitely on those ones I just named, which right now on the health exchange, or I guess we're calling it Obamacare on that, the people that were on that. Right now, Blue Cross Blue Shield is the only one in the state of Georgia.
Did it say, I didn't read the whole article, did it say how many people would be affected? I don't think it's as many as it said. They make it sound like, well, half of Georgia's not going to have Blue Cross Blue Shield, but I would imagine it's only a couple thousand patients or less, but I don't know.
I would think it'd be more than that.
On Facebook.
That are just on the exchange.
And they had
but I don't
a
know.
map of Georgia, and there's a lot of counties in Georgia. I would say probably 30 counties, 35 counties will not have Blue Cross Blue Shield health care.
But just on the exchange, if you have like private Blue Cross Blue Shield through your employer, then you'll still have it.
Yeah.
So,
but see, here's the controversy on that, Doc. We like controversy on the show. Here's the controversy on that is that I think that my ancestors are from Ireland, and in Ireland, we were the ones, not the Romans, that said in every truth there's some lie, in every lie there's some truth. Mm-hmm. And I kind of think that's the same thing when I hear this insurance stuff. I think these insurance industries, come on, guys out there, let's put on our thinking cap. They're a business, not the doctors. The insurance companies are a for-profit business. And they're not all sitting there going, we need to see to it that every American in this country gets affordable health care. I don't care who they are. They're all out to make a buck. Not that I blame them. We're a capitalist country. I believe in capitalism. I understand that. I don't believe in gouging people or and when is enough. When you're, it gets a little silly sometimes. Where you have somebody say, hey, guess what? I'm really hurt. You know what? Instead of everybody in our family getting a helicopter this year, we're going to have to share one. That kind of stuff. So, I believe, yes. Doc, this is just total conjecture. This is our, by the way, 706-940-0541. 940.
They can ask a question on Facebook
They
too,
right? They come in and
something.
ask on Facebook too. And welcome to all of our people on that. But you know what? I think it's almost irresponsible for a person of logic or a person of reason, anybody, to think that all of these insurance companies they don't cognitively watch each other on that. Because let me give you a parallel.
No doubt.
Why do you think gas goes up and down so quickly, and all of a sudden it's not like, why is it like not 209 over here and 203 over here in town? Why? Because they watch each other, and they get as much as they can get. And then when one says, I'm going to get a little bit greedier, they lower it a cent or two, and then everybody comes and buys it from them. So what I'm saying is, we are talking, we got to get
These strategies are in place.
We got to get. I'm a Catholic. We got to get up off the pews and off our knees and realize we're not in church. This is a business we're talking about. These are for-profit, and one thing too, and Doc, I'm sure you agree. This has nothing to do with medicine. This is as another person. We're talking about corporate America, and when we're talking about corporate America has one bottom line: profitability. And stockholders and corporate America are, what do we got to do to increase, not maintain, profitability.
And if a lot of us personally, disagree with that as your primary motivation in life, unfortunately, we still have to live in this world and cope.
Exactly.
So, understanding it from that perspective can be helpful, I think.
Well, let's just, and again, just something interesting, that I was thinking about the other day is, Pat and I are not on the exchange. We make too much money on that. Look down here, look at my W-2. I'd be happy to show it to you. And if you go, wow, you do make a lot of money, I'll send you to mental health care on that. But I work in nonprofit, and we don't get a lot anyway. But that's not really the issue. What I want to talk about is this: is that I think that I was thinking about something the other day. I looked at what Pat and I's premium is per month. Our premium is more than our mortgage payment, significantly more than our mortgage payment on our house for the two of us. I mean, in the hundreds of dollars, not $50, not $80. I'm talking. It's actually we'll just say, I'll tell you exactly. It's if you count our out of pockets, it's $600 more a month of expense than our mortgage on our home.
Goodness.
Now, what do I say about that? I say about this is you know what? I'm to the point. I started thinking about it. I thought, my God, by the end of the year, I'm gonna have spent $15,000, $16,000, $17,000, $18,000 out of pocket. I wonder if I can find a doc. Hey, doc, can I just go up to you and say, hey, here's the deal. I'll give you $8,000, half of that, right? Eight G's right now, just to be my doctor.
I believe more and more people are doing
they
like
call
these
it
Aflac policies that do that. Like you just have like these
a little supplemental thing.
Supplemental, and then the other things you pay cash for what you can cash, and you can negotiate, what they'll charge you or what they'll accept from you.
Yeah, because
it's not impossible to do.
Because I've gotten to the point to look at it. People go like, oh my God, I don't have Dr. Q over here is charging me $250 for an office visit. Well, all of a sudden I go, well, wait a minute, come to think of it, I saw Dr. Q. If I see Dr. Q 5 times in the year, that's $1,250 for the year. Mm-hmm. Well, right now I'm paying $12,000 for the year. So wouldn't it be better just pay him $250 a year? I can point to you at a doctor per visit.
It'd be hard to. You gotta search for the right doc and figure that out.
Absolutely. Okay. Oh, there we go. Okay. Thank you. He was just pulling that up here.
Yeah, we're looking. Look on your Facebook, and there's ways to communicate. Right, people could, if they have a question, throw it at us. Challenge us.
Yeah, we got it here. I don't like it's on the bottom.
Oh, it is different.
No, it's not different.
We're looking at our for folks.
I'm bringing up our thing here.
We're doing everything on our phone, and
so we can see you pretty people. Or the questions you guys see. Voices to this Ranger. Right, give me a moment, everybody. Maybe you guys got a country show, and look, I go right there, and I put that down there and look at it, and there is the team.
Oh, we should be right on front there.
Yeah, where there is the team. And see, look, if I had the volume up right now.
Yes. All right.
Right.
I am finally fully on Facebook now, so I'm gonna start spreading this Ranger Joe God and Country message out.
There you go.
We're going to ramp this up a little bit more, right? We're going to get a little bit more since we left the radio station. It's been a little hit or miss, but we really want to make this good.
Yes.
And if folks let us know what they want to hear, and we really would like more audience participation type of thing. Let's give the people what they want. Just throw it at us and see how. Let us help you out, or see how we do. Challenge us
on that. I'm gonna have to go by memory. I just realized I had my list on there of things we were going to talk about. By the way, I just want to something we're talking about. And hey, listen. In case there's some people out there that want, I had last week somebody that I think they thought that I was. Thought I was a liberal or something like that. I'm a right-wing conservative Republican.
You're a compassionate,
ultra-conservative Christian Republican on that. Pro-Second Amendment, but I'm pro-First Amendment too on that. So I'm a former law enforcement officer. I'm a former soldier on that. So I am not. You ain't gonna find any left-wing dogma coming out of me. Mm-hmm. However, with that said, though, I thought it was very interesting. I saw another thing reading up. We're talking about this. It's one of the issues of the 10 greatest concerns of health of people in America is healthcare. I don't know the validity of this. I'm sure it's valid. I just don't know that's not really the word I should use, the validity. I don't know the scientific method that was used to get this, but I was watching, I believe it was one of the news channel, national news channels, that said a recent study said that 40%, and I believe it, I believe this, that 47%, that's half basically, of Americans, if they had to legally, in an emergency, like just today, that they could not come up with $400 cash.
Well, that's because everybody spends on credit, right?
You know, and they said now maybe in a day or two they could sell some stuff. But if somebody said, Curtis, we need $400 right now on that, you don't have to say, I've got to make arrangements, I've got to get out of an account, I've got to sell something, I've got to use a credit. Will you take a credit card and or a debit card? And hey, Shane, thank you for joining us on that, Shane. 706-940-0541 if you got a question on that. But big concerns. Let's just move on in.
Yeah, let's hit it.
On that's going on down here. Okay, what's let me ask you something. What's going on with pro-life right now? I mean, we just changed administrations, and we had this horrific administration.
It's all tied to the health care bill. It's going to be tied to funding of Planned Parenthood, and the overall approach to how, and that's what it all comes down to, the money. Is all still being looked at, but it's all going to be tied to the healthcare bill. Now, things like the Mexico City policy and things like that, we have cut off some international funding for overseas, but Planned Parenthood's still getting all of their money. And there's things from the courts, you'll hear things state by state and court by court come up. A lot of things for physician privileges, like if you're going to be a doctor and go to an abortion clinic and do a surgical procedure, you should have privileges at the local hospital. They're always, back and forth and fighting these things. Fetal pain bills, ultrasound, these things. But there hasn't been a major shift since the new administration, bottom line.
And that's kind of interesting. I thought there would have been.
I mean, it's definitely more of a pro-life. I think people who are pro-life are much more optimistic right now, and they know things are potentially changing for the better, but there hasn't been a paradigm shift just yet.
I'm trying to...
As more judges get appointed and things like that. Like the Supreme Court judge appointment, that's actually going to end up being a big pro-life thing. They just haven't had a case come to them yet. But knowing that guy's there, Gorsuch is there, we would expect something favorable if it got to that level. So that's how we look at it. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
What's amazing, Doc, is this is what gets into it. Let's face reality, America. We're talking about abortion. Abortion, it was just what we're talking about. You know what it is? What is it, Doc? It's a it is a business for profit. The people out there that are doing this, and it's it's like one of those pyramid schemes, isn't it? It's not just the and I'm gonna please, I know you're medical.
It's not women's health.
Are you medical professionals out there that commit abortions? Shame on you, and shame on any of you that work for somebody who do that, because you're just as guilty. Don't stand there and say, well, I needed a job, so I'm going to go there. That's like when I was a police officer, you couldn't stand in the room and someone say, oh, well, I just drove the getaway car. Okay? You're still guilty of the armed robbery. Right. You're still guilty out there of an abortion. And you know what? Why do we use abortion? We're killing somebody. We're killing a child. We're killing them. And I'm not even going to get into that, but the multi-level profit thing. Why do doctors do this? Because they make a lot of money doing it. Then, not only do they make a lot of money, correct me if I'm wrong, Doc, on the actual murder of the child and the fee they get for that, they sell body parts, they sell placentas, they sell.
It's just not looked at this way. I mean, I was watching.
It's horrific. Well, it could be a movie on TV.
One of these new. There's all these new game shows. I'm not big on the game shows, but this was like a brand new primetime game show. I don't know if it was like the Shazam one, or something like that. And there was a group of women, a couple women that was celebrity version. I forget which one it was. Celebrity version of a primetime game show. And the group of women up there, they were their cause was if they won the $50,000, it was going to Planned Parenthood. And I'm just like, oh, so the $250 million they get from our taxpayers isn't enough, and all the money, and they still every abortion they do, they get paid for. They charge.
Hey, Doc,
They either pay cash or bill Medicare
here's
or
one.
Medicaid.
Here's one that come out
It's just
controversial.
nuts.
I hope I get some calls on this one. Calling Planned Parenthood is like calling.
It's unplanning.
It's like calling the Nazi Party
Right.
the
So you're
group
not
of-
a parent.
the group of love.
We'll make sure you'll never be a parent.
Planned Parenthood. What a camouflage. What are you doing when you're saying when you are trying to misrepresent yourself? You know, when you're coming in there and saying stuff like that group of morons, and they probably don't know how to spell it. Up in Wisconsin, the Freedom from Religion Foundation, freedom from religion. You know, we're out there. We're gonna give you freedom from religion. Oh,
and just
pathetic.
research Margaret Sanger, the founder of it. I mean, it was really Planned Parenthood was initially there so that poor people and black people, there wouldn't be too many of them. That was the
There you
original
go.
reason for Planned Parenthood.
But you see, that's called
And,
it's called
I mean,
revisionist history.
you'll never find that
That's right, 'cause
unless you dig for it.
yeah,
But that's the truth.
It's revisionist history.
Yeah.
It's revisionist history. It's changing historical fact.
Right.
Just like, it's, saying you can change, or in other controversial times, you can change your gender. You can't change your gender,
No.
you can't change history. What happened, happened.
Now on
Good, bad, or different.
the other side, the baby issue, since we're talking about baby issues, that Charlie Gard, that was a huge thing in the news past few weeks. That person is now deceased. But if the viewers have any comments about
Bring
that.
us up to speed on that. What happened with that?
So this is a child that was born in Great Britain. They have socialized medicine. The child was born with a rare, lethal genetic mutation called mitochondrial deletion syndrome. I think there's only 20 people in the world that have it at any given time. It's so rare, but it's incompatible with life. They need a feeding tube and they're hooked to a ventilator, but can be supported. And this baby lived almost a year, but it got to a point where they said this is your baby's terminally ill, hooked to machines, never has any chance of getting better. So basically, it's a dying person. You need to let this person die a natural death. Now, in and of itself, that's not unrealistic. That's, a Christian moral view of things would be if someone's dying, they need to know they're dying, and you support them and let them die in peace. However, when it's an infant, it's so much harder. But the government said, look, you don't have a right to keep this dying person alive this long. So there was this big rally and cry, and they gained up to $1 million, and they said, you bring the kid to the U.S. and we'll give him experimental gene therapy. But the court shot it down. They wouldn't allow them to do that, and that's where it got controversial. The government in Great Britain refused to allow the parents to use their own money to put their baby on a plane and have them come to the U.S. for further treatment.
You know what that's like?
And then they ended up, the child went to hospice and died naturally. And I'm not saying that wasn't the wrong thing. I mean, this might have been the wrong case.
That was the wrong thing, Doc. That was the wrong thing. Shame on you, the government of Great Britain. Shame on you and shame on the people for letting it happen.
But we don't know all the ins and outs of it. And but if they wanted to on their own, if it was the United States, there's no doubt he would have been transferred and had the experimental therapy, and still might have ended up just going to hospice and dying, But it just brings up a good point. See, it's a rare kind of case, but it forces us to talk about this. Now, if it was an 80-year-old,
yeah, there's a difference right
then
there.
you got to be able to say no. And in
and-
the U.S., though, we don't say no to 80-year-olds
Yeah,
when they're dying.
and also there's a difference where I have a living will, and I say in my will that I do not want this to happen.
Oh,
if
yeah.
I get to that point, I want this stopped.
But let me tell you, in the United States, what will happen if you, God forbid, had just a catastrophic illness and you were in your final stages and you had that, and then you got admitted to the hospital for something and you weren't on hospice yet, but you can't speak for yourself anymore. What happens is your children who live out of town, or they come and they tell us, I don't care what he says, you do everything. And then we in general turn around and fail the patient to please the family, and then we do all the things that you said don't do to me. We do it all the time because the family changes their mind because they think there's going to be a miracle cure. This is what happens too often.
Well, also too, Doc, and I'm going to say this to you out there, and to me, and to all of us in here. you know, maybe sometimes we need to look in a mirror and we need to say to ourselves, hey, you know what? Do you really believe in God? Because you know what? I don't know that the 100 million people in this country, 187 million people that say they do on that. Do you think that God, if you do believe that, which I do, I know Curtis does, I know Pat does, do you think that God does not see or hear or let this go? Do you think that you can hide behind some curtain when you answer to God, when you come, that you can raise up a placard and say, "Oh, I was saved. I did all these things, but that doesn't matter." Now, this is Joe talking, not Ray Pierce Driver Coach. This is Joe talking. But you know what? I think you're going to get a surprise because I've read the Bible too, and I've read what Christ said. I've read where Christ has said, "Woe to the person who harms a hair on a child's head. Let it be better for you to put a millstone on your neck and throw yourself." I have heard God has, if you read the Old Testament, God has spited people many times for disobeying His will and for and so if you think that just holding up a placard, and I'm not making fun of it, and I'm not being disrespectful.
You're saying this in reference to these end of life care issues, to be at peace with God.
Exactly. That you better be able to stand up and say to yourself, "I know I did the right thing." Not the legal or the concern for liability or litigation thing, but that I did. And if you think you can fall back on, you know what? I got news for you, everybody. And boy, this is going to raise some hairs. This one, get ready for this one. You know what?
Let it go, brother.
When you stand up there in front of God and you say, "I was just doing what I was told," that's the same thing the Nazis said at Nuremberg. I was just doing what I was told when I gassed the 6 million people. And you know what? You know what happened to them? On this earth, they were on that, and in that earth, that place on there, they went that way.
Yeah, don't do anything that violates your well-formed conscience, even if there's consequences.
And I'm going to tell you what, that both in the celestial court and here on earth, on that, and both of those, the excuse of "I was just doing what I was told. I have to make a paycheck. I had to do what I was told," ain't gonna fly.
Right.
And and people will say, like, well, it's not, it's just not worth. Well, isn't there anything in life worth standing on your belief? I mean, what if it was your? That's the I keep saying. What if it was your child? And they say, "Oh, but it's the parents. It's the mother that's wanting to do that." I'm going to tell you something. We work very closely with pro-life groups, and I can tell you, and I can prove this empirically, that 90+% of the time, 90% of the time, when we have a mother that comes in for an abortion, and one that she has been either indoctrinated that there's a fetus in her womb, as she calls it, there's this thing in there that's going to be medically procedured to be removed. But when we can get that mother to look at an ultrasound and see that child, no matter how big it is on there, 90% of the time they say, "No, I can't do this. I can't go in my body and kill my child that's out of my womb."
Right.
And we see this consistently. All right, well, let's move on to another one.
Yes.
One that kind of just we don't have a lot of time. I see we've got
time flies. We got 25, 30 minutes.
AIDS, HIV, kind of just that still is on the list. I got a list from CNN News, the Communist News Network. Saying thank you. Every once in a while they come up with something. 10 biggest health concerns. Isn't it funny? That's kind of
There's still 1 million people in this country with AIDS. That hasn't changed. What has changed, though, the number of people that are dying from it. So if people were dying from it at the same rates, there wouldn't be 1 million. So the fact that there's 1 million, it's good and it's bad. It's good because so many people are living that have AIDS now, but it is still among us, right? There's still 1 million people with AIDS, and that's been constant for 10 years. It might be down to 800, 900,000, but close to 1 million people, and that's been steady. So it's still here. You have to be careful. Heterosexual contact and homosexual contact and IV drug use are the main ways it's being transmitted, and it's still with us.
706-940-0541. If you got one, yeah, very treatable. Let me ask you something. Here's one we haven't really brought up before on the show. Environmental. People said that they're concerned. You know what? I'm older than you, a little bit older than you. Here, I'll make you feel better. Significantly older than you.
No, you're
Yeah,
not.
but I'll make you feel better.
Mom just as gray.
I know, but I'm
Look at that, buddy.
yeah, but I got a great chest hair. That's when you really wait a minute, kids hair great too. But we remember in the 70s, the 60s, especially the 70s, you know, we went environmentally safe, friendly, crazy, which was great. You know, we
With all the sprays.
you know,
and
yeah,
everything,
against everything, you know, aerosols and chemicals and fluoride and asbestos. And, you know, let's face it, you know, like, well, who's, you know, Love Canal, who's poisoning the rivers, nuclear power.
Yeah.
That's kind of died out. I mean, environmental concerns. I mean, you just really don't hear a lot about that. You know, you don't hear, we still have, Green Day or whatever, or, you know, and all that, but you just don't see the activism and concern. You know, I mean, today, pretty much, you know, you hear, hey, they dumped, you know, this is
Yeah,
weird.
there's still just as much poison and pollution.
I'm not making this up. Hey, so-and-so up in Atlanta dumped X hundred thousands of gallons of chemical waste into the Chattahoochee, which is what we drink. Yes, that's where by the way, that's where your water comes from, the Chattahoochee River.
Atlanta, right.
Down from Atlanta. And you know what people say? Oh, well, they pay the fine.
Yeah.
You know, we got them. They pay the fine. And you know, the interesting thing about that is, and this is not, I'm not just making this up, I actually know this on the fact. Do you know what the fine? And there is no, it's not an increasing level on that, or it increases with more and with harsher sentences. It goes. Do you know what the fine from the EPA is for illegal dumping? Whether it's a gallon or 500,000 gallons. Do you want to do this?
Like $2,500 or
No, it's stiff. It's stiff. $50,000 on that for okay, yeah. Do you know what it costs? The level of what we're talking about. An average small company that dumps a typical monthly amount of chemical waste, because it's not sewage that is the bad part. That's bad.
yeah,
But
it's
it's
other chemicals and
That's what they
toxins.
give
Yeah.
on that. It costs properly. There is a textile plant, not here in Columbus, that's northeast of here. And I know this personally for a fact that if they correctly, and so say they know who they are, so I'm not going to say their name, but they know who they are. If they correctly, the chief engineer told me this, dispose of their chemical waste, it costs about $1.5 million a year to do that. So do you think they care about it? They have the check. He told me they have the check.
It's in their budget. Yeah, it's
in the budget. It's a line item budget. They have a fine from the EPA. Yeah. And then when the person gets there, hey Curtis, hey, here's the check. You want to go do a little go kayaking?
I don't doubt it.
You know, and stuff like that. So that's how bad that is.
That's a big concern. People should be more concerned about.
What about the sun? What is that? What is that getting more? The ozone. Remember that thing? We had an ozone hole, and we were all going to burn up in that.
Well, I think that's what global warming is all about. I don't know. I'm not going to get into that. I don't know.
Let's ask the thing. Are you seeing more cancer related or things like that related to?
I don't think we are. I don't think we are. I think there's good education about that. People know to cover up. They know to use sunscreen. I don't think there's a drastic increase in the number of cancers, skin cancers. And if there is, it's only because we're paying more attention to examining our skin and going to our doctor. I don't think the incidence has really gone up.
Is there an overall increase? Just this off the top of your head. Do you think there's an increase in the amount of people that are getting cancer, right? Or I guess are we finding it quicker?
We find it quicker, and that's why survival rates go up, because we detect it earlier, and it kind of biases them. But the cancer, the main two reasons why cancer deaths have gone down is, number one, there's a lot less smokers once we got dealt with that, and we started doing colonoscopies on everybody.
Yeah, but
it's the prevention and screening that ultimately change things, not the great drugs that come along. By the time you need those drugs, you're already pretty bad off.
Now, one of the things, I mean, interrupt you on that, but now there is the correlation there. There's an interesting dichotomy on that. Is correct. I just did some research on this recently, that the amount of adults smoking has gone down. Now the amount of juveniles smoking has skyrocketed.
It's starting to We're going to another
straight
trend
up like that on that,
which involves the smokeless tobacco and then the vaping, and then of course that just leads right to cigarettes.
By the way, I have a friend right now, and it's not appropriate to say their name on the radio or on the show right now, but we have a friend that not in Columbus, but we have a friend that in Augusta that is in his early, I think, late 30s. That as he said, never touched a cigarette in his life, but he started chewing tobacco when he was probably about 13.
Oh, goodness,
and he has tongue, throat, and
that's
mouth,
horrible.
And,
that is
and,
horrible.
and esophagus cancer.
Yeah, that's horrible.
Stage 4.
That's horrible.
And I think his from what I understand, his chances of survival is very low.
Yeah, he's in for a tough ride, and like I said, yeah, by the time you get to that point, there's good treatments and surgeries and things, and he can live several years, but the pain and suffering is phenomenal. If he had been somehow convinced to quit at some point, that would have been the way to go.
Definitely.
But cancer is still with us, and we've made a lot of strides. We still got a long way to go.
What would you say, Doc, is out there to the Facebook land and YouTube, to America and the world out there right now, and wherever you are, what do you think in 2017, August 9th, 2017, what do you think the number one issue that is ignored the most by people in America? That is it diabetes? Is it heart disease? Is it overall health?
As crazy as this
obesity?
sounds, simple as it sounds, right? Diet and exercise.
Diet and exercise.
There is no drug that's better than those two things. Than eating a healthy diet and exercising. There's no drug, there's no treatment, there's no surgery, there's nothing as good as those two things. So a lot of our health problems that stem from those items, it's just too simple, though, isn't it? Isn't it just too simple? But
it is, and see what we're faced with out there too. And I understand this. I mean, I want to go back and recognize that, and I'm starting to see this in my own life. Is that I was talking to my mom. My mom is in her mid-80s, and I said, "This is very interesting." I said, "Mom, go back to when you were we were kids. You were in your late 20s or 30s, circa 1960, around there." And I said, "What was different in the economy then than now? Or what did you have then that we don't have now? Or what do we have not have then that we have now?" And it's very interesting she said. And I think this is this tumble down effect. Is that she came back and she said, "Well, you go back and you look at our, and she said, at that time your father was a second lieutenant in the Army, and I think he said, I think he made something like $310 a month, or something was his salary. Of course, their mortgage payment, I think, was $90 a month, or something on that, so. But here's the issue. She said, back in that year, even a blue-collar worker, blue-collar labor, equivalent to minimum wage, which we call today, that one party in a family could work, one could stay home. A person could buy a modest house, have a family car, go on a vacation, a 2-week vacation every year, and basic necessities, food, electricity, water, were never an issue. I mean, you always had to fill the cart with food. Now, luxuries and things like that, and new TVs and new expensive furniture and extra vehicles, and that's a different story.
Right.
Versus today, it's literally, I think this is something like, even the bank says that people, for instance, the banking system, looking at people's checking accounts, the majority of people in Columbus, live paycheck to paycheck, and then by the time they get to that paycheck, I think it's funny because it's always, you wait up to that day, and you go, okay, today's payday, and you get your hand, for a few minutes you have something, then you give it to somebody else, you pay all your bills, and then you're broke again for another month. But here's the issue that I guess I'm getting around to on this is that we also are being bombarded by, you look out there and there are fast food places that, I'm sorry, they're not healthy. They are not healthy. They may have some healthy things there. They may camouflage their menus and stuff.
Right.
But what do? I see it all the time. I'm not even going to say the name of the restaurant. I just saw a restaurant down the road from here that said, you know, basically family of 4, and it was enough food for a family of 4 meal, and it was like $15, and you know, but it was fast food type stuff.
It was just
You
pure
know,
fat and salt.
Fat and salt.
Fat,
and
salt,
that,
and
you
sugar.
know, and you go by and you see, you know, hey, you know, eight drumsticks or 10 pieces of dark meat chicken for $5.95. You know, people go like, yeah, you know, I go there to the, you know, and buy a bag of fresh spinach, you know, and it's $5 just for a bag of spinach. You know,
If the gas station fast pickup stuff, the gas station stores, and every drive-through fast food store in Columbus closed, within 5 years, you'd see a significant improvement in health.
I mean, is it a realistic statement? Because I think it is. I'm going to take a shot at it.
Realistic.
Is it a realistic statement? If I'm sitting here and I'm, you know, I'm going to, you know, good luck suing me on that because I'm in the court system and I because of that I know that the system.
If it's the truth,
I have to
you
have
don't have to be afraid to say
yeah,
it.
you don't have to be. That's what I'm saying.
That's the
truth.
truth.
All right. So if I'm sitting here with a monster drink, okay, and I won't even say from what restaurant, a double fast food cheeseburger and a big mess of fries and all that kind of thing. Am I eating a health or am I eating a very unhealthy meal?
You're being very unhealthy, and at some point, people are going to pay for it. That's why in New York City, you know, this nanny state stuff. Yeah, it sounds horrible, but this taxing for the sugar drinks, taxing for the fatty foods, and you know what a pack of cigarettes costs in New York now?
What?
Like $12, I think, for a pack.
For a pack.
I heard it on the radio the other day.
$12
For
a
one pack
of
of cigarettes.
And you know, then that gets into that whole sociological thing because you look out there and you see, you know, I'm sorry, America, you can't come up to me and tell me that you know, I need assistance and I need help and I need this. Now I can afford, you know, $400 a month for cigarettes, but I can't afford to feed my children. No.
Right. I mean, you have to make some tough decisions, and you still can do it in a charitable way without being hateful, and still, you know, express Christian love to that person. But you know, they made their choices, and you didn't have any control over that.
You know that's like, you know, this isn't a medical thing, but that's just like in Columbus. You know, we're going on thinking about the tax stuff right now. I mean, I'm sorry. You know, there's an old saying, Daddy said it, Granddaddy said it, Great-Granddaddy. No matter how you skin the cat, they ain't gonna like it. And you can't tell me if I'm a person out there and I'm paying $2,000 or $4,000 or $6,000. I'm saying this rhetorically. Whoever, a couple grand a year or $1,000 a year in property tax, and I'm using you just pretend you're just a guy. And this guy over here is in a house and he's paying $50. Yes, there are people paying $50 a year for property tax on that because we have this freeze. They have a house back from 1972 and they're still paying the same property tax on that. That nobody is going to say, I think that's
so that all got reassessed, yeah.
No, nobody is going to agree on that. I mean, I'm sure the people that are paying $50 are going to agree on it. But you know, and you know, and it's the same thing on that is that, and you know what, I think too we out there you know we're saying here over the last few minutes here we got under Dr. Clark's got to go.
We got 10 minutes.
We got about 10 minutes.
Yeah.
That. And I'm going to bring out a big word because you know what? It was one of my champion words.
Bring it out.
Rationalization. Okay, because I was real good at that with my health. I was real good at rationalizing that. Well, you know what? My blood sugar is 250, so I'll just take a shot of this insulin, and that'll take care of it. Well, you know what?
I'll worry about controlling it later.
That's right.
Now, let's just
and hey, I might need this 8-ounce steak and this baked potato, but I didn't put any butter on it on the steak.
And I'll take my statin.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm on a cholesterol pill, so that'll handle it.
You know, and you know, and believe me, in this room, I know Pat and I do, and I know you. I'm sure you do too. I know people right now, just like you know, get back to abortion for a second. There are people in America, in this city, not America, in Columbus, Georgia. I know people that use abortion as birth control, and you know what? It's the same, which is horrific. May God be merciful to you. Since I would. But I'm going to tell you this. I know people that literally, Doc, they go, I've got like 18 stents in my heart.
Oh yeah.
And they go, well, how do you want that? Well, you know what? I just eat whatever the heck I want. You know, when I start getting some angina and chest pains, I go to my doctor and I have stents inside of stents, and they just put in another stent, hoping that baby gets more.
There's people out there.
Is that a factual thing
yes,
that happened?
Yes. Now, of course, you know, they're not as honest with us about what they're doing. You know, if they're still smoking or eating fatty food or whatnot. But yeah, there's plenty of people that come in and just get stent after stent after stent. And yeah, 10, 12, 14, we see it fairly frequently, not every day. But
We know a person here locally, a young woman that had a breast augmentation, was silicone breast augmentation surgery, and had a horrific infection set in,
oh,
and almost died. Literally was almost died. Got better, and then when she was at her, I know this for a fact, within months of having that, so the doctor said, well, when can I have more breast blood back? Can I have this done again? And they were like, you've got to be kidding. It almost killed you. I know, but I want bigger breasts.
What's the, one of the books of the Bible in the Old Testament, it begins, vanity, vanity, all things are vanity. Is that Ecclesiastes or?
Yes.
Vanity, all things are vanity.
Yeah, he who is stupid does stupid things and ends up dead. And I don't know. This is like try to. I know Elvis will get a kick out of this because because he always had a good sense of humor. But I always say to people, it's just like, you really want to be able to see in your mind like, wow, I died and they're going to show my obituary. I died because I had breast surgery to augment my breast and I got infection and went back and did it again and then got on that. That's like, I hear people say, that Elvis is really alive. You hear people say that on that?
Yeah.
You know what? You know how I think that's not true? And I think Elvis will laugh at this, really.
All right.
Well, we all know, we all know, but Elvis died, he had an impacted colon. He was literally sitting on the toilet.
That was part of it,
yeah. On that, when he
had a heart attack, and then he had a heart attack. Yeah.
But with the shorts down, going, having a bowel movement.
That happens more than you know.
So, but here's part of it. We thought, I'm sure if Elvis was going to fake his death, he probably would have chose something other than that. He probably went, I think that was a great idea on faking my death, but can we do something other than being on the toilet? I think Mr. Vanity himself would have said, look, I'm making a scorpion bite or something like that. Not, I think.
Plane crash. Yeah, my plane went
down.
Plane
crash or something, but I don't think I want the paper read, Elvis found on toilet,
But see, he had a real prescription drug problem. And one of the biggest things we see with the opiate crisis, a lot of people who overuse pain medications get severe constipation to the point where they have to get admitted to the hospital to have it dealt with. It happens all the time, yeah. And that was part of his problem.
Do you know that he actually, and of course his weight gain, do you know that he actually, at the time of his death, he had a chef, I know this for a fact, I read the book, that he had a chef that he kept on staff 24 hours a day, several of them.
Oh, yeah.
That he wanted, you know why? Because he would wake up 3 o'clock in the morning and say, I want a double cheeseburger, and I want a peanut butter and banana sandwich, fried peanut butter and banana sandwich, and I want a double cheeseburger, and I want a milkshake. And he'd have them right there so that they were on duty, that he could get what he wanted. He would call and open up people. He would call and get restaurants where he liked the food. He'd get them to open up at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning to get him and pay him large money.
His doctor actually went on trial for some kind of second-degree murder or something.
Yeah, and I think that he was convicted on that.
I forget. I don't know.
On a lesser charge.
Yeah, I imagine because he probably wasn't keeping track of the prescriptions and doing it legitimately, and he really was just trying to help Elvis. And if he didn't do it, Elvis would go somewhere else. So he's like, at least I can control it, and we know what he's taking. Yeah. And that's not a bad example of some of the problems we're going through right now. With before it was only the wealthy people that could get away with doing that, but now anybody can with these pain clinics and things. But
have you heard, by the way,
as long as it's there's some people need it and it needs to be handled correctly.
One of our closing thoughts here. Have you heard? And I thought this was actually a joke.
Yeah.
When I first saw it, but did you hear this new thing that kids are doing now, where they take paint and paint their body, spray paint their bodies, and it makes them high. Then they take spray paint
Yeah.
and they spray it all over their naked skin on that, and that whatever gets absorbed.
Wow.
into
I
their
mean,
skin.
I know it's always like glue and paint and solvents. They put into a bag
This actually
or a
happened.
place
This actually happened in Columbus.
and inhale it. But no, I have not heard about this
And
actually spraying your body.
There actually the police were called to a scene, and there were 3 teenagers that were they had taken off their shirts, but they had sprayed each other down with just regular like a silver or something spray paint
Yeah.
all over there, and they said they were all passed out, and they survived, but they had the Columbus Police Department said that this was a new thing hitting Columbus, where apparently it says right on there highly toxic. Do not get this on your skin, because it absorbs into the skin.
Yeah, there's harmful chemicals in there. But
So that's crazy. But I think
Oh,
it's
boy.
about time. I know you got to head out here
Yes.
on Rangers Medical
All
Show,
right.
Medical Hour, which we're going to be getting better, and we're getting expanded out. And hope everybody stays healthy and tries to keep healthy. I tell you what, the summer has just flown by. I mean, it's just
school started this week.
Yeah.
Or last week for some. Yeah.
When you went to school, by the way, when I was in school always started the day after Labor Day.
Well, for us Yankees it did. But
we did it in South too.
Okay.
It was always.
I'm not sure when that changed.
Oh my gosh! It was. You know how we always did? It was the day after the telephone.
Yeah, right. Jerry Lewis.
We had-
when
we
you
started
saw
school
Jerry
that day.
Lewis, you
Yep.
knew you were going back to
We
school.
did. We weren't going to school on Monday,
So-
we would hit it. We'd hit it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll have to ask the Skokie County School people.
Love that. And keep prayers out there
All right.
for Mark Cantrell. By the way, school board member Mark Cantrell, a very dear friend of mine, who is at St. Francis right now, and that is public knowledge. It's in the paper. Who was admitted with some very potentially serious health issues. So please keep him in your prayers, and for all of our families and friends that are in need, we pray to God. And I think what we're going to do today, a medical hour.
What's that?
We're going to close out with prayer.
Let's do
Why
that.
don't we do that? And you know what we're going to do? We're going to close out with a Catholic prayer. Hail Mary, full of grace, the Lord is with thee. Blessed art thou amongst women. Blessed is the fruit of thy womb, Jesus. Holy Mary, Mother of God, pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Lord, be to the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, and is now, and ever shall be, world without end. Amen. God bless you. Have a great day. Take care. Miss Pat, would you take us out?